Okay, are we on? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Santia Lamon, and I'm with the Roslyn Bid. And we're so glad you could join us today for our Designer Secrets webinar. With our home space and our workspace melding into one, we thought you'd welcome some tips on how to brighten your space. So we're glad to have with us tonight Suzanne Manlove of Arlington Home Interiors. Suzanne has been working to beautify interiors for her clients since 2007 and was this year voted Arlington Magazine's Best for Interior Design. Congratulations, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Her work has been featured in the Washington Post, Washingtonian Magazine, and other publications. We're excited that Suzanne is here to share some of her tips. But before I turn it over to her, just some housekeeping tips. First, we will only be using the Zoom function tonight. On your screen, I think you see some instructions on how to use the Zoom function. I'm sorry, the Q&A function on Zoom. And we are turning off the chat and the raise hands function. So please use your Q&A function and feel free to submit your questions at any time throughout Suzanne's presentation. And then finally, as part of our Roslyn at Home series, we'll be doing a raffle tonight for a $25 gift card. Stay tuned for that after the Q&A. All right, so let's get started. Suzanne?
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hear there are quite a few of you on this presentation, so I am honored to be here to talk to you about transforming your spaces, and let's get right into it. So just a quick overview of what I'm going to be speaking about today, and then after that we'll have our Q&A time. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our business, Arlington Home Interiors, and how to make your spaces functional, productive, and pretty. Design secrets for refreshing your home. Go over a couple of different areas that you can impact right away. Have a section on home office essentials, which is really important right now as everybody is working from their home space. How to get it all done, and then we'll jump into Q&A. So a little bit about us. Arlington Home Interiors is a full-service interior design studio providing fresh, casually elegant living spaces for families in the DC metro area. Like Santia said, we've been doing this work since 2007. And there was a little logo for Best of Arlington. I'm not sure what happened to that. But so talking about your space, functional, productive, and pretty, that's really kind of the goal for making a really wonderful space to live in all the time. And I know that everybody is spending so much time at home right now, pretty much all their time. And if you're not living your space, it's really time to think about what you can do to make it better. And it's really up to you at the moment, because you're the one who can really make those changes. So I'm hoping that with this presentation, I can help you look at your space with fresh eyes. And you can think about what's keeping it from being functional for you. Are you doing the same things over and over again, and you look at something and it's just annoying you, or it's cluttered, or it's you know, something's not right. So think about what can you do to make it more functional. What is keeping you from feeling calm and relaxed in your space, and what is keeping you from loving it? And so some of these changes may be really big changes that you're not going to want to tackle right now, like I really want to remodel my kitchen or my bathroom or something like that. But there are some smaller things that you can do that are just going to bring a little more comfort into your space and hopefully bring a little more joy into your life. So we're going to share some tips with that with you and how you can make these changes on your own. So the first tip we're going to talk about is freshening things up with pillows. It's interesting, some of my pictures have gone away, but that's okay. Pillows are your furniture's #1 fashion accessory and the quickest and easiest way to freshen a space. So you can mix things up by combining colors and patterns and textures. This sofa here is an example of how we would dress a sofa with a larger pillow and then a smaller like lumbar pillow. And these both have textures on them and patterning, and one of them is a bolder pattern and one of them is a quieter pattern. So that's how they work together. So you can take a really simple thing like a sofa, like a plain off-white sofa, and by adding in the pillows, you can just add so much more dimension and interest to your space. It's a really great way to change a room without changing your furniture. Just take off all your pillows and start over. Another thing you can do and think about right now as we're in springtime is switching them out for the seasons. Now that's for somebody who's probably a little more interested in home decor, but for the spring and the summer, you can use like linen and cotton fabrics and some brighter, more poppy colors. And in the winter and the fall, you could go with velvets and some chunky weaves and maybe some animal prints. So that's a way to really make a difference depending on the season. And then the rest of the pillows just go in the closet until this new season comes back. Or you could just leave them all the same all the time, have them for several years until you get tired of them and switch them out. On the bottom here is a picture of a master bedroom that we redid. And in this case, we've got some Euroshams, which are these big square pillows in the back. And then we've got the pillows that they sleep on. And then we've got some more decorative pillows in front. So these homeowners didn't want a ton of pillows, but they wanted something to go on to work with that headboard. So we gave them kind of the medium format. Some beds have a million pillows on it, but I find it's like too much to move around every night. Bigger is better for pillows. I think that we're seeing a trend now that pillows are more like 20 to 22 inches on furniture, whereas I would say 10 years ago, the pillows used to be a bit smaller, like 18 or 16 inches. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. Our tendency is to go smaller, but it really looks better to go bigger. And more is better on a sofa. Here's an example. There's 5 pillows on one sofa, and it's really nice, especially if you're more petite and you want a little lumbar support, to have a pillow that kind of props you up. So that's another way that you can use pillows for comfort. This is an example of a lumbar pillow on a bed. I'm really into these right now because you only need one to dress up a bed. So instead of buying 6 pillows, you could just buy a single long piece and it does the job for you. And then at night, you only have to remove 1 pillow off your bed before you go to bed. We are going to provide a designer shopping list at the end. If you would like, you have the option to request our designer shopping list. And we have some pillow sources that we use just for some additional ideas to help you get started. Another area where you can really impact your space is with plants. So plants are great because they literally will bring fresh air into your home. So it's a great way to just revitalize a space, bring in some green, and also bring in the outdoors, especially if you're living in an apartment building and you don't necessarily have a yard and you want to bring those plants in. And I know that Rosalind Bid, the program, has been doing other like plant things in their programming and gardening and things like that. So this is another way you can bring in some house plants. You do not need a green thumb to bring plants in because there's a lot of plants that are easier care, and we've got 5 listed here. So we've got the dragon tree, the Chinese evergreen. We have one of these in our bedroom right now, and it is just really stunning. The jade plant can be small or it can be big. The majesty palm and the snake plant. I feel like the snake plant is like virtually indestructible. You can ignore it for a couple weeks and it does totally fine by itself. The larger plants, I find that they last longer because you don't have to water them as frequently. So there's a lot more dirt, so it holds the moisture for longer. So with a plant like this top one here, you could have this and water it once a week, once every 10 days. And so that works even if you're away for the weekend. It's no problem, you don't have to worry about it. Or if you have a house cleaning company coming in, you could even have them water for you once a week, or maybe even once every 2 weeks when they come in, if you have one of these like easy maintenance plants. We like to combine plants and planter styles together to make like a layered approach. So here's some examples of what you could do with that. And then we have some tips on our list, but just some place that we go all the time for plants that people often don't think of is Home Depot. They have really wonderful indoor plants and outdoor plants, and they're really affordable. So sometimes you can snag like some beautiful trees there too. It just depends on when you go. So we're always kind of checking it out when we go, see what they have. Another thing that you can do to really transform your space on your own right now is add personality with artwork. And that can be, it can be photography, it could be original artwork, it could be prints, it can be a lot of different things. But I find that whenever we go into people's homes, people are not always taking advantage of their walls. And maybe you fall in that category where you've got a lot of blank wall space and you haven't ever gotten around to the hanging part. And I would say that this is the best time to think about that, because you're home every day and you could really make an impact there and enjoy the space while you're stuck in your house. So the first thing to do would be to round up what you already have, get those prints out of the closet, those beautiful paintings that you bought on your honeymoon that you never hung, and lay them around your house and see how you can arrange them together and figure out what you need to do to get them on the wall. In some cases, you may need to buy new frames, which you can do online. You may need to buy new mats, which you can do online. So you could have a little framing project and a little hanging project and make a big impact in your space. Think about different shapes that you have. And if you have a lot of small pieces, you can group them together. And that's a great way to fill a larger space. So if you group, like if you look at this top picture here, they've taken some smaller pictures and they've put them together. And now they have a larger mass that they're working with. So it's a really interesting way to fill the page. And don't be afraid to mix media. So here, like there's some botanical prints and some mirrors are mixed together. Here, there's a lot of different paintings that are all different types of colors. They work really well together. You can mix black and white and color. All of that's going to work. You can mix in different frame styles, and that's a really nice collected and curated look as well. On these pictures here, I just wanted to show you some things that you could do even with family pictures. Like you could have things blown up and framed. And I know that places like FrameBridge, you could just send it all out digitally and they'll frame it for you. And here above this sofa, we have like 4 nice pictures together of family pictures. This one on the right is actually pictures from Instagram. And there are several companies now that you can send out pictures from your phone, even just if you have square format pictures from your phone or from Instagram, and they will put together the presentation for you, and then you just have to hang it. So I think FrameBridge does that as well, but there's a lot of different services that do that. And then this is another idea. If you don't want to hang things, you can put up shelving. This is actually from IKEA, and it's really great looking. And you could kind of mix and match on a wall. Another designer secret, kind of related to the images and the photography, is dressing up your shelves and things that you have right now on your bookshelves, on your dressers, you know, standalone things that are mounted on the wall, or even like a freestanding piece like in this picture here. I would say to start just kind of in the idea of like taking a fresh look at what you already have. If you're ambitious, you can take everything off and start fresh. Take everything off and reorganize it, even without changing the items. By putting them in different places, it's going to make it feel like a fresh space. With books, we like to stack them horizontally and vertically. Like if you look at this picture down here, we've got stacks of books vertically, and then we've got some horizontal bigger books, and then we place objects on top of them. So that's a really nice way to style a bookshelf with books. You can take some sentimental items or items from maybe your last few vacations that you've collected and put them out on shelves. I know that we have some bookshelves in our family room, and I love to look at it because there's so many little treasures on it that I've collected, and pictures of my family and my husband's favorite things and my kids, like artwork, and it's all collected there, and it's just so nice. It has a story to tell, and it just really makes our space feel really personal. So you want to try a variety of shapes and sizes and groupings. Again, I like to collect a lot of things. Like I collect pottery. So I have my pottery grouped together. Like here, there's a couple of pieces together. So that's a great way when you have a lot of little tiny items, group them together so they become a bigger item. Kind of like with the pictures I was saying, if you have a lot of small framed things, group them together, and then you have like a bigger mass, and it's easier to look at that way. Check my time. Okay, we're doing good. I want to talk about your home office a little bit, which is really important right now. And a lot of these designer tips apply to your office as well, where we're talking about what are you hanging on the walls and how are you organizing your books and even bringing plants into your office. I think that you can apply all of those to all of your living space, but you can also definitely apply them to your office if you're spending a lot of time in there right now. So the first thing, and you're working in a space, and I know a lot of you listening may be living in condos and apartments, you don't have a ton of space. So you want to think about where is your quiet space. I'm sure by now you've figured that out, for better or for worse, where you might have the opportunity to get away for a Zoom call, depending on whether you have kids in the house, how many people are in your home. It's really important to know where you can be safely so that you don't have a lot of interruptions. We also find that if you have a consistent space where you work every day, it definitely helps you keep a routine and be more productive. If you need to find a space and you haven't quite settled on that yet, you can consider your guest room maybe would be a good place to take over, or even creating a closet space, an office closet space. So this does take a little bit of creativity and ingenuity, but here I have an example of 2 closet spaces on the bottom where the homeowner took off the doors, and you don't have to take off the doors, but you can take off the doors, and they did some built-ins, and they work in that space. And I think it's really cool. It's definitely something that takes a little bit of planning. You can't just jump into your closet tomorrow, but it's a space that you can think about, you know, uncertain of how long you're going to be home, working from home, or maybe you just really don't have a place to work. So it's something that would be worth taking the time to figure out, and maybe even investing in bringing in a handyman to put up some shelves and things. But I think that they're just really clever spaces, and they do give you that little extra square footage that you might not have right now. Another thing that I think is really useful when you're moving around your house working and trying to avoid the other members of your house, especially if you have a call and you need to go take a call real quick in a private space, like maybe in your bedroom, is creating an office to go basket so that everything you need, like your supplies, a notepad, your phone charger, things like that, can just be in that bag or that bin or box or something. I would prefer it to be an attractive bin or box or basket. And then when you need to move around throughout the day, if you're moving around, you can just have everything there and take it with you. And I do encourage you as much as it's possible, and I know that it's not always an option, but if you can keep your work out of your bedroom, I would say go for it. It's really hard to transition. As you know, and I'm working from my home as well, it's really hard to transition at the end of the day from work to home to relaxing. And if you're working in your bedroom all day long, it's going to be harder for you to just calm down at night and get a good night's sleep. And then you wake up in the morning, you don't want to see all your stuff from the night before that you maybe didn't finish. It could be stressful. So as much as you can control it, I would say stay out of your bedroom is great. For where you're actually working, I would encourage you again to get a desk or a table to work at rather than working on your lap, sitting on a sofa. I mean, I think that's fine occasionally, but it's really not great for your posture and your body. And I think it used to be that you might work a little bit at home when you're watching TV and it was just for a short amount of time. But now that everything is happening at home, you could be sitting at your computer on the couch for 6 hours at a time. And over time, that's really going to wear on your body. So here's a little picture of the ideal position to be sitting at your desk. And I think it's worth thinking about, like, what is your angle of your arm? Where are your feet? How high is your chair? Are you looking straight ahead? Are you looking down? These are things to really help avoid stress injuries. We have enough stress in our lives right now. We don't need to have body stress as well. Your dining room can definitely double as your desk during the day. This picture, this is the desk during the day, and at night, oh look, we're having wine for dinner. So she's all set to go. That takes a little bit of organizing and planning. I don't know if it's always so pretty all the time, but it's something to aspire to. And then here's a table, a desk actually, that I found an article, just an example of a really attractive piece that you could bring in for working. You know, it's $700, but there's certainly a lot of less expensive desks out there. Even like IKEA is just wonderful for office furniture. We also even really like Target and Wayfair. You can get some great options there. And we have some ideas on our shopping guide. I do encourage you to invest in a good chair. Again, thinking about your body and just taking care of your back and how you're going to be sitting. It's nice to have arms. And so I just listed a few here that I would recommend and consider from the top of the line. Like, they definitely have a lot of choices and they have some really nice colors. I love the Herman Miller Setsu, and that's actually the chair I'm sitting in right now. I used to have a sore back from working because I was on a cheap chair. And then I got this chair, and I can sit in this chair literally for 10 hours and I have no back issues. So the Crate and Barrel Ripple, definitely more of a designy chair. I like it because it's comfortable. I wouldn't say it's as comfortable as the top two, but if you're really getting into styling your office, I love that it has like this rose gold brass handles rather than metallic. So I do think if you're looking for a chair, read the reviews and get some feedback, because you do get what you pay for, and also people talk about whether it's working for them or not. Organizing your stuff in your office, and this kind of goes to organizing your stuff anywhere, but staying organized really helps reduce stress and helps you feel in control. And think about your work style and whether you need to have everything out or whether you can put things away. Like, I like to have everything out, so I end up with piles on my desk and on my floor because I want to see it to work on it. That's a little harder when you're working in the dining room, depending on how many people you're sharing your home with. But there are some ways to get that off the floor, and then you could still see it, like this wall file. I really like this, and I've used it before, and I've used it with clients as well. This is from Ballard, but other vendors have it. It's a great way to just get those files up on the wall, but you can still see them. You can hide your printer if you're not using a printer a lot. If you're totally digital and not printing a lot of paper, you can even put your printer in a drawer. And we've done built-ins with pull-out sliders with the printer in there. And think about, even depending on how many people are using your printer, is your printer in a place where everybody can access it? Or every time you print, do you have to like run down the hall and go in a bedroom? And is it really complicated? Because those are things that used to not matter that much, but if you're working all day at home, where your printer is really matters now. And you want to think about just decorative storage bins. And I say decorative because I'm a designer. They don't have to be decorative, but it's nice if you're going to look at it anyway that it looks good. Here's an example of somebody who has a desk on one side and they've divided the room. On the other side, they have a sitting area and a play place for their kids. And this is all IKEA, but they've got bins and binders and shelves and boxes. I really like the boxes, like the top of this page, that's container store stuff, but it's nice to like put everything into a box. So when I'm working on projects for clients, I will have different boxes for different clients so I can throw all the samples in there, But the same thing could work for you for a project. You could be working on 3 different projects, and each project could have a box. And then you, at the end of the day, you've got your boxes and they look really nice on the shelf or on your sideboard in your dining room. And they don't feel as office-y. So the idea is just kind of trying to make a more pleasant living space for you. Lighting is really important everywhere. In this case, I'm talking about office lighting specifically, but these would also work for reading and, you know, your bedside table. They all apply. It's the same size. So the right lighting can really help your mood and avoid eye strain. We also encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to put the place that you're working all the time near a window so you are getting natural light. It looks really good for Zoom calls. Like right now, I've got this window in front of me and it's giving me this nice fill for a Zoom call. And it's also just really healthy to have natural light coming in and not be enclosed all the time. And then a little Zoom tip is putting a light source behind your computer is going to fill your light, so that if you have the light behind you, you're more shadowed and you're darker. If you have the light in front of you, then it's more pleasing on you, especially if you're doing calls at night. That's pretty essential. There are a lot of lights that are sold for Zoom calls. Like there's a ring that you can get that's like a beauty light. It's on Amazon if you need it, but you don't have to do that. You can just use a regular desk lamp and just tilt it a little bit so that you're getting some nice light. So talking about how to take all of these ideas and get it done. So we talked about styling your shelves. We talked about how you could hang things on your wall in an organized way, how to use pillows in your decor, how to use plants, how to style your office and make your office more functional. All of those ideas really need some planning, and this is how we do it for our projects. So I wanted to share the process with you because I find that oftentimes, you know, a project can be a little bit overwhelming, and if you just kind of walk through the steps, then you can got some control and you can make some good decisions. So what we like to start with is using Pinterest. You don't have to use Pinterest, but we like to use Pinterest because it's easy. It's like your visual filing cabinet. So we pin ideas for, let's take, let's say you want to design a small office space in the corner of your living room. I would go on Pinterest and I would look for ideas that could be similar to the space that you're designing for, and think about what's the sizing, what are the colors that I'm interested in. And when you pin some pictures like that, you start to get a theme running through what you're pulling, and it helps you make those ideas. I like to have you measure your space on graph paper. Now we use CAD software, but you can do it by hand. Oftentimes I just start sketching it out just with a pencil on paper, and measure your space and draw it out so that you know that you are buying the right size if you're buying something. And you can do the same thing if you are doing like a gallery wall or putting like 4 pictures up on the wall. You could start on paper. Like after you have an idea of what you want to do, like maybe you pin some ideas and then you can sketch it out. Well, my pictures are all 20 by 30 and I've got this much space and they're all going to be 3 inches apart. So draw it out, get an idea of what you want. And then if you need to do any shopping, go online and pin your ideas onto your Pinterest board. Then you have everything collected in one place. And this is what we do even for our massive whole home projects. We pin it all, and we might pin categories and things, but we pin it all and then we edit. We cull down to our critical pieces and then double check that your sizes are working. So we say measure twice and purchase once. So look at your graph paper, make sure everything fits, check the sizes of the things you want to buy, and then double check that you're good for sizing on everything. Because that's just so unpleasant when something arrives, especially it's come in through UPS and it arrives at your house and you put it in your house and then you're like, oh, it's the wrong size. It happens. It does happen. So just try to avoid that as much as you can. You can purchase and everything and then install it, and then you have your new space. So that's the end of the presentation part of this. And what we're gonna do is you'll receive a thank you for participating email. And we're gonna have a link that you can request our designer shopping list. So a lot of our ideas are recapped in this. So you'll get a sense of the presentation. It's not necessarily every single word, but it's the gist. And then we also have ideas for where you can shop for some of these things we talked about today. So it's some of our like insider secrets and some places that you might not think about for sourcing. So after you click on it, we're going to send you, we'll email you a link to download the list. And then with that list, we'll also be putting you on our newsletter so that you can receive a monthly newsletter from us about what we're working on. And we have tips in there. We talk about projects we're working on. We talk about events that are happening around art and design. And then you can opt out, of course, for the newsletter list at any time. But we'd love to have you follow along and see what we're up to. We also are on Instagram if you are interested in following us at Arlington Home Interiors. And we're on Facebook at Arlington Home Interiors. And I think that's it. Yeah, here we are. And of course our website. But we'll have that on that sheet that we're sending out so you can check it out then. But we'd love to come and just have you see what we're up to. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And we're going to talk through some questions that you might have. So hopefully you've been sending questions during my talking. And
that was great, Suzanne. Thank you so much. I love those tips. And a lot of it is very accessible. I really appreciate you, you know, bringing in things where we can go to Target or Home Depot, places that people go to all the time. So that's wonderful. And I'm sure you have a lot of other possibilities where people can source things. I especially love that Instagram tip. I didn't know you could do that with your Instagram pictures. That's wonderful.
Yeah. I got that from a client. I had heard about it, but I went into somebody's home and they had this whole line of pictures down their hallway, like really skinny. And it was all these pictures from like important moments in his life. And it was so beautiful.
Wow.
And he just said, well, I just sent it out. And they just sent me all these little framed pictures. And then I just hung them.
Wow. That's,
yeah.
I'm going to have to try that one. And get a Herman Miller chair. I have a question for you. I'll start with the questions.
Okay.
Do you think that's a good chair for a petite frame like mine? You know how small I am.
Yeah, actually, I do think it would be great.
It's got to be fully adjustable and all those things, right?
Well, yeah, it's more, you know, you can go up and down in it. That's pretty much the adjustments. They do have ones that have more adjustments that are kind of on the higher end, like they go up from there. But I find this is all I need. And actually, Mark, my husband, works at a taller desk. And so he got like a tall version of that chair also. So even if you're doing like a standing desk, you can use something like that.
Okay. Well, let me go to some questions from our participants. We'll start with this one is about hanging pictures.
Okay.
This person lives in an apartment and says, I don't want to repair a lot of nail holes when I move out. Is there a secure way to hang pictures without using nails?
Yes, I'm so glad that you asked that because that's so relevant. I should put that in my presentation if I ever do it again. Command strips, which you can buy on Amazon or pretty much even I think like the CVS carries them now, but they have all sorts of hooks and strips. So you can even hang pretty heavy things with it, and they have a way that you pull when you're removing them. You have to pull the bottom really slowly and carefully, and it like stretches out and it slowly removes its adhesive so that you can remove it without hurting the paint. So I would say just be careful that you read the instructions, because if you just rip them off the wall, you will rip the paint off. But we use those even for when we're doing photo shoots and we want to hang a picture temporarily, but when we're done with the photo shoot, we're taking it down, we use command strips. It's great for rentals. It's great for beach houses, for dorm rooms. Like if your kids are going away to college and you want to hang stuff, you can use command strips. And then the hooks are great for even like in the bathroom if you want to hang towels and stuff.
Oh, so they'll still hang well with humidity?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's great.
They have some pretty heavy duty ones.
Nice. Great tip.
Sure.
All right, this next question is a great one. I've wondered about this. This person moved into a new place which has dark hardwood floors. Do you have any suggestions for which color furniture would match well? Can furniture made of lighter colored wood be mixed in?
Yes. Yes, this is so fun. I love these questions.
That's a great question.
So yes, I am a big fan of mixing woods and mixing materials. So the dark hardwoods are so beautiful, but I would say I would first think about a big area rug to cover the dark hardwood floor so everything is not dark. So you could put a medium to lighter toned carpet on that, and it's going to reflect the light and make the room feel lighter. Because as much as we love hardwoods and we love dark hardwoods, we don't want everything to be dark because it's just going to bring the whole room down. So you want to have some reflectiveness in there. And then once you put that carpet down as your base, you put your furniture on top of it, and then you're not literally putting a light wood piece on top of a dark wood piece. Not that that wouldn't be bad, that would be fine if you did that, but I like having that layer of carpeting in between, because then you're not just wood on wood, and it just adds a lot of warmth to the space. But I do like mixing woods. I think you could go to a light wood, or you could go to a grayer wood. I think it just depends on how your floors are. If everything is in a redder family, then it would be easier to mix in like a cherry wood or something like that. But if the dark wood is more like a brown dark wood, then I would say just go with a lighter wood, or even like some wood these days has like a gray finish on it, and that could also work with more of a not red floor. I don't like the red and the red floor and gray. I don't think that works as well.
So if it's a redder floor, assuming it's a couch,
Yes.
are there some color fabrics that work better with a redder floor?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I kind of have to see the whole room to get into the specifics on it, but I think a neutral is going to work with everything. And
Like
we
gray?
do, yeah, and yeah, and I think a gray sofa could work well with a redder floor, definitely. But I think of gray as a neutral. Honestly, I think that it kind of feels like a neutral, and then you can bring your color in, like in your pillows on top of it.
Great. So the gray is sort of your canvas, so to speak,
Yes.
over the floor. All right. So our next question has to do with a home office that's also a gym. So this person's home office is in their gym, and they have a treadmill just behind their desk, and it sounds that it says it's tight to the wall on one side of the desk and the treadmill's behind them. Can you recommend a way to hide your treadmill? I'm sure we're all like using our spaces for multiple things these days, so this is a good thing to know.
Okay, so I have a couple thoughts on this. One is to use a screen, but it kind of depends on the floor plan if you have space to put a screen between you and the treadmill. So like a folding screen, like a decorative folding screen.
Yep.
So if let's say you're on a Zoom call, is the point that we're trying to avoid people seeing it when we're on a call, or just we don't want to look at it during the day? Do you know?
Probably a call. So
Okay.
I'm
So
assuming.
a screen, I mean, either way, we don't want to see it during the day. I would consider a screen that could be really fun. It could be a wood screen, it could be colored, it could be fabric. They do sell those. So something like that, like it's an accordion, so you can put it up and then you can fold it up and put it away. Another thought, if it is a Zoom call and you just don't want people to see that you've got your equipment right there, is you can change your background in Zoom. You bring in a different picture. And it's kind of fun. It's a little silly, but I think that could be, you could kind of have your signature look, your signature picture that you bring in when you have a call, and then all the stuff in your background disappears.
That's, yeah, I've seen that. The funny thing is if you move a certain way, your head disappears too, and you're,
Right.
I've
It's
seen
not
that too.
perfect. I would say
Yeah.
it's not perfect.
I love your screen idea though, because I think there's so many varieties of those that you could, add personality, or if you just want something more professional, I bet it's pretty accessible too.
Yeah, and there's probably even a DIY option if you went on Pinterest. You could DIY your own folding
Oh
screen.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving because we got a lot of questions
Okay.
here. So my home office, here's another home office one, is a windowless den. Any tips besides taking my laptop to the kitchen counter or dining area on occasion? I'm sick of it after 7 or 8 weeks of working here full time, many, many hours per week.
Yes, yes. Wow. Well, I definitely think bringing in some, so I'm thinking plants, but you don't have natural light. Some of these plants will do well even without, like even just with incandescent lighting, like the snake plant will survive without natural light. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not a green thumb myself, but I think that that's the case. So I would bring in some plants. I would definitely think about what's going on that wall that you're facing all day long. Could you bring in a big oversized piece of art, like an art print, or do like a collage, like a gallery wall with multiple images to kind of build it together to make a big space, so that you have something interesting to look at that's not just your wall. Because even if you bring in pictures that you love, photos of places you've been, it gives you a chance to kind of daydream for a minute and escape into those images, and that might really help just your peace of mind. Another thing I would say is definitely plan breaks during your day to walk around, to maybe, if you're an apartment, go out on your balcony, if you have a balcony, even go outside of your building and walk around just for a change of scenery. And it's really good for your eyes too, so that you're not always focusing on the same plane all day long, so that your eyes have a chance to do some distance work and maybe some up close work, because you can get a lot of eye strain. I know I'm a decorator. I'm not supposed to be talking about all this wellness stuff, but it does make a difference.
Wellness counts in every way, and
Yeah,
being a decorator, your work goes directly to the wellness
it does.
topic, so makes a lot of sense. All right, next question. I'm currently in the process of moving from a studio apartment into a one-bedroom. Which space would you begin designing first? The bedroom, living room, or home office?
Wow. That's very exciting. Congratulations
Ah,
for getting some more square footage. I think that I would think about what space am I going to spend the most time in other than sleeping. So I would be torn between the home office and the living space. Personally, I probably would start with the living space because I want a place that I can go and relax to at the end of the day that's not my office. So I would probably work on the living space first, as long as your home office is like livable. And then I would work on the home office. And I hate to put the bedroom last because I feel like in some ways your sleep is so important, but as long as you have a bed to start, that's really critical. I do find that people put off doing their bedroom forever, and it does make a big difference. So they're all important, but I think I would start with your living space.
terrific. All right, next question. We've got quite a few here. Currently, we have a lot of brown and blue features. Do you have any other color suggestions to bring in a bit more brightness?
Brown and blue. So I'm going to think brown is like furniture or the sofa's brown, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to see some lightness come in, like maybe even like white or off-white, so that you have some contrast, because brown and blue are kind of all in the same plane of color. For white, I mean, maybe there's some light blue and dark blue and things like that, but I would like to see some white for some contrast. I think that would really help. And even think about, depending on what furniture pieces we're talking about, I would bring in maybe some metal, whether it be chrome or brass. I like metal because it's different than fabric, right? It's different than wood. It's like bringing in another material, and it's reflective. So it catches the eye in a different way. And I think it creates a varied landscape in your room. So it's more interesting. So I'm thinking to add some brightness or some lightness is going to help.
So if I'm wondering with brown and blue, can they add a plant? Now that's green.
Oh,
but
sure.
In a white pot maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I was thinking pillows, like white pillows. If you, depending on the color of the sofa, like let's say the sofa's blue, maybe white and a contrast color like orange or yellow, like not necessarily bright, unless you like brights. If you like brights, great. It may be like a muted orange or a yellow could be a nice way to bring in some color. But I think that getting that base of that white somewhere would be nice.
Right, okay.
Just to create a little contrast.
And what do you think about maybe a throw blanket to add?
Absolutely, yeah. We layer a lot of textures and colors. I really love the texture of spaces. I think that really creates like a coziness and a calmness. And so I would definitely go for a throw.
Great. Yeah. All right, this next question wants to know, or a person wants to know, standard ratio to help determine what size furniture fits appropriately in a space. We moved into a new house and have a long, skinny living room, and we're concerned our furniture overwhelms the space now.
So that's kind of a tough one to answer without some perspective of your room. But I would say that this is like a designer cheat is if you go on Pinterest and you search scale of sofa or scale of how big should my carpet be or something like that, there is some designer out there who has put together that answer with some diagrams, because everything is out there on Pinterest when it comes to like how big should my light be, how far should it be from the dining room table, like it's all out there. So I would say, and there'll be some little schemes and stuff, so I would say do a search and look at some ideas. And now they're not all necessarily right, but you'll notice a theme throughout. But putting furniture in a long narrow space can be tricky. I like to think about the whole space at once and put furniture in the whole space and not, I find sometimes when spaces are awkward, people don't know how to use them, so they don't fill them properly. And I think rooms become bigger when they're properly furnished. So not like big gaps of nothingness. So I don't know how big your sofa needs to be, but I would say have it be functional for you. And really try to use your space. So if it's a tiny room, you can put, it doesn't have to be tiny furniture, but you want to scale it appropriately. And that's where those little cheat sheets might come in handy.
And I imagine you'd have to look at the flow of the space, like the entries and the exits.
Absolutely.
Are there rules of thumb as to how far or close you put pieces of furniture to a doorway, for example?
Well, I like to have a minimum of 3 feet for walking between things. So if you have a living room that has a cut through in the middle of it to get to the kitchen, then I would like at least 3 feet between, let's say, the media stand and the coffee table across from it, so that you can pass through it. Sometimes you can cheat areas. It just kind of depends on the floor plan again, but I use 36 inches as a guideline. And then I like approximately 15 inches between the coffee table and the sofa. It's enough room to fit in there, but it's close enough that you can reach over and put your cup of coffee down on it. I find a lot of people, their coffee table's really far from their sofa, and so it's not really functional anymore. You know, you want to be able to put your feet up on it. So I like 15, 16 inches. Again, it depends on the size of the room and how much space you have. And if you're in an apartment, you don't have as much square footage. So you have to think about some cheats, you know, maybe some things are a little bit closer in areas, but if it's not like a pass through, it's okay.
Cool.
All of that's online too.
You can find anything online these
Yeah.
days. And good to hear that you use some cheats too yourself.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, well, what's the rule? I can't remember the rule. And I sometimes I modify it, but I'll start there. Like it's confirmation. Okay, I'm on the right path.
Right. All right. This question I always have trouble with. What types of window treatments would you use to modernize an older home with original hardwood floors?
That's a good question. I prefer a really minimal window treatment. I do love window treatments though, and I think they're really important. In fact, if you go to our website, we've got a lot of window treatments in our portfolio, but we also have one of our blog posts talks about our favorite window treatments. So you could see some of the things that we recommend and some pictures there. But if you want to be more formal and graceful, you can do panels. I really like panels hanging on either side of the window. Those aren't necessarily great if you have a high traffic area and if you have pets and kids, because it's easy access for everything to stick to it. But I do like panels, like say in your living room and dining room, maybe your bedroom, if you've got the space on the sides of the windows to do that. And those may be functioning, or they may be what we call static. So they're more decorative, but you don't actually close them. They're more just to frame the window, and you mount them up really high, and they're going to bring the eye up and make the window look bigger. So that's our objective with that. So I like a really simple panel. A lot of those you can buy through retailers, no problem, or you can get some custom ones done. So, but the plain ones, even just with like a flat panel on rings, would be fine. Oftentimes we do like a little pinch pleat, just like a really clean pleat on the top. But that's because we're making them with our workroom. So they're making them to our specifications. Another treatment that I really like for an older home that I want to modernize a little bit is a Roman shade. And a Roman shade, it doesn't hang down to the floor. It covers the window. It may be set inside the window or on the trim, or even above the trim outside the window, depending on the type of trim you have. I know Santia has some Roman shades back there. Yes, and that's more of a relaxed Roman shade, so it has that swag. Some people call it like a French or European Roman shade when it has that swag at the bottom, or you can do a flat one where it's straight across the bottom. It depends on the house style and kind of what you like, what your preference is, but it's a great way to bring in some pattern and color and warmth to a space. It also, I love drapery because it absorbs sound, which is nice. And there's a lot of different ways to get drapery. You can order it online. You can have a workroom make it for you. You could work through a designer. If you're a seamstress, you can sew your own. There's a lot of stuff on Pinterest about how to DIY your Roman shades. So depending on what level you want to invest in and how finished you want them to be, there's a lot of choices there. But hopefully that's a good start to kind of get you started.
So I'm thinking back to the other question about the brown and the blue furniture, and wondering if window treatments would have been another way, not knowing whether or not they had windows.
Yes, definitely. I think that, yeah, it's hard because I don't know what's brown and what's blue and how big it is. But I think that just going for a varied palette, of course, everything being complementary, but not having it all be exactly the same color just makes it more interesting.
Great. All right, I think we have one last question we're going to squeeze in because we're running out of time. Well, we did discuss some lighting, and this person would like to, they have a lot of recessed lights and would like to bring in lighting that's warmer, and also wanting to know where he or she could find lamp options. So what kind of lighting could warm up a space, and what sort of work can she or he buy these items?
Okay. So for lighting, I definitely would think about, so right now you've got overhead lighting. We like to build in a lot of lighting kind of at the sitting level. So that would be your desk lamp, your bedside table light, a lamp on a console or a side table next to your sofa in your living room, or a floor lamp in the corner. Those are lights that, like at nighttime, you don't want to rely on your overhead lights to fill the space because it can be a little harsh at night.
Yeah.
And if they're not on a dimmer, they're probably too bright. I really love a dimmer. If you can put all your lights on a dimmer, do it. Anything
And soft music.
yeah, it really makes a difference so that you can control the light. So at nighttime, let's say you have a recess light, you have canned lights, and it's on a dimmer, you might want to lower it significantly or even turn it off and just use all of your low lights, your lamps, your corner lights, maybe for your floor lamps, to fill. And normally those lights, not always, but often those have incandescent light bulbs in them, which are warmer lights. One thing to just be aware of, I know we all want to be really aware of our energy efficiency, and a lot of the newer, more efficient bulbs are really bright. Again, if you can dim them, that helps, but you want to make sure that you have your light bulbs that have a warmer light. If they're too bright and they're too white hot, it's just really not comfortable, and especially in the evening. So I'm still a fan of incandescent light bulbs, even though they're not very energy efficient. And in terms of places where you can find great lights, one of my favorite places, and it is on our designer shopping list, is West Elm. They have beautiful, if you're a little more modern, contemporary, they have beautiful lights, really, really stylish. They have some artisan lights, and they're really affordable. I also like Target. Target has some great lights. So you don't have to go high end and designer to find something that's going to really work for you and kind of help transform your space. So I would start there.
Awesome. All right. I'm surprised we got through all the questions. I mean, they were coming in pretty fast there for a little while. So, so great. Thank you. I just have a few things to run through. And before we wrap up, we definitely need to do our raffle.
Oh yeah.
So Alexa on our bid team has drawn a random participant, and the winner of the gift card is Holly Hassett. So congratulations, Holly. We'll be sending you the gift card via your email, so keep an eye out for that. And if for some reason you don't get it, you can email us. I think you do have our contact information in your registration. And we're also hoping that we can see all of your applications of some of Suzanne's design tips. Please join us for our Roslyn at Home social media series. Share your before and after pics at #RoslynAtHome, and do this before Wednesday, May 20th. You could win a gift card to a Roslyn Rewards restaurant. Roslyn bid staff will nominate their top 4 from all the posts, and then the community will vote for the grand prize winner. All nominees will win a $15 gift card, and the grand prize winner will win a $50 gift card.
Wow.
For full details, visit our website at roslynva.org/at-home. And then finally, be sure to connect with Suzanne at arlingtonhomeinteriors.com to download the designer shopping guide. Suzanne, I think that's going to be full of lots of great places that people can source items to be able to implement the tips that you have. And we'll certainly send out a reminder to everyone when we send on a follow-on email to make sure they know how to connect with you.
Great.
So thank you all tonight for joining us. I think we're out of time, and thank you, Suzanne, for sharing your designer secrets. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.